Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.wordpress.com, back again with another Sunday scoring project, and this time it's a variation on a fan fold card that I saw. The one I saw just had the 3 strips, but I felt that really wanted to make it a little bit more substantial when you come to standing it up, and so I thought the effect of a kind of looking through a tunnel might be rather nice. So this is what we've come up with, and you can see here it's good through. The image is split into 3 across the panels, but then on the back what I've done is I've just stamped very lightly the image on either side, just to give it a little bit of a frame for your sentiment. And we've used the lovely Mediterranean Moments stamp set, which is this one here, and this is a stamp that's been designed to celebrate one of the Stampin' Up demonstrator who has actually sold £1 million or dollars of sales. So it's got 4 lovely images in there, quite small, so you could easily put them on a card with lots of layers to make them stand out or as a focal point. And I've used this one here, which is the street scene. So I've used watercolour paper, and what you'll need is a piece of watercolour paper that is 2 7/8 by 4 1/8 of an inch, 10.5 by 7.5, and we're going to stamp that in Memento black ink. And the reason we're stamping Memento is because Memento, once it's dry, is waterproof, and we're going to be watercolouring the image very lightly. So ink up your image. It's a nice rubber stamp, so all you do is then, and I have to stand up to do this, so the volume will probably go a little bit wonky, and just literally, and it's a large stamp, so just make sure you give really good coverage, although because it's quite sketchy it actually doesn't matter too much if you were to miss something. Now what I'm going to do now is very quickly blast it with my heat gun. And the reason for that is because obviously I don't want, normally I'd leave it to one side, but because I'm on a video, obviously I don't want to have to wait for that. I could have done a Blue Peter moment, but this is useful if you're ever doing something and you just want to make sure that it's totally dry. Good old heat gun, just for a few seconds will do that for you. And then I've come in with a paintbrush and a pot of water, and we're literally just going to watercolour the various parts of the image. I've used quite a fine one. You can actually get, I find, some really fine paintbrushes actually in, well, it's called Poundland here in the UK, but sort of dollar store in the USA. I'm using a little bit of Cajun Craze here. And actually they're nail art brushes. So I find that those actually are quite good for doing the watercolouring, because they're really fine. So I'm just coming in and colouring certain sort of accents. That's a bit of Cajun Craze, bit of terracotta pot, and obviously you can tailor this to whatever colours you have. So if you haven't got the exact colours, that doesn't matter. I wanted to use Specific Point because that just reminded me of holidays in the Greek islands, where you get those beautiful blue shutters and sort of doorways. So I'm just sort of echoing that here. And the real star of this, I think, is the foliage. So I've used Old Olive, and a really good tip here is to come in lightly for your foliage first. So literally just kind of sketch paint all that stuff foliage first. And obviously you could use your aqua painter if you wanted to, even, with a fine tip. All of that would still work quite well. And then when you come to do the bushes, I've sort of left a little bit so you can add some accents to create some flowers as well. So as you can see, I'm really being quite, light with the touch here, just sort of add in little bits as you want. And then I'm just using a touch of real red. Actually I might use rose red. real red, it's like the geraniums that you see, to just come in and just pop in some bits of colour. And then for the background, overall, what I've actually used is Sahara sand. So that's kind of for the stonework. And that's just... There we go. Let's add that a bit more water. And there you go. Just it brings it to life. And saying you can add as much or as little as you like. So I'm going to leave it for there for the moment, because obviously you can come in and colour as much as you want. And perhaps some more time. I spent more time on my original one. So we'll get on with the card construction itself. So I'm going to pop that to one side while we're working on the card. And to make the card, I've used a piece of Tempting Turquoise for the sort of mechanism part of it. And what I'm going to do is score that every 2.5 centimetres, every inch as we go along. So the piece of card is 5 3/4 by 7 inches, and we're going to score, which is 14.5 by 17.5, and literally just every inch all the way across. And then you're simply going to concertina fold those, and then you'll run over your bone folder with that as well. And while it's flat, we're then going to stamp, we're then going to add Stampin, not going to stamp at all, we're going to add some tape to the back, and we're going to add a panel to it. So literally all I'm going to do is pop a strip of my double-sided tape there, and I'm going to make a mess because I'm not there we go, it's coming, right. And then I'm going to add to that a piece of Pacific Point card, which is 5 3/4 by 4 inches, and I'm just going to literally just come into the side of that score line and layer that up. Okay, and then that forms our back. What I've then made is the panels for to go on. Now these are slightly different. You've got 3 panels, which you can see here are all 4 inches wide, but they are 1 3/4 inches, so they're just going to have a slight gap between them. And then you're going to have these panels, which are actually I've cut shorter because that's going to match the stamped and coloured, watercoloured image. And these panels are 3 1/8 by 1 5/8. So 4.5 by 10 centimetres for the larger one, and 4 by 8 centimetres for the smaller one. That doesn't sound quite right. I will double check that. 8. That's right, it is 4 by 8, yes. Okay, so all we need to do now is layer those panels up. So that's a straightforward use of our snail. And those just layer just to the right hand edge. So we're not centralising these, we're literally just popping them to the right hand edge. So we get, that's where we get our border. And same with the last one. And then those panels are going to come in and they're going to stick on each of those front parts. So I'm going to use my fuse now, that nice strong bond. And what I do is I do the top one first. I layer. Then I'll come in and do the bottom one, which is going onto the very front. I stuck that one on the wrong, okay, or I'll have to put a piece, yeah, I'll pop a piece to cover up that boo-boo because I've actually stuck it on the wrong, okay. No, I won't. Happy mistake, okay, I'll stick the panel on the front which will cover this up. So we just need to layer that one up like so. That's what happens in crafting sometimes, especially when you're doing a video, unless I want to redo the video. Then this one, if you put it like so, you can see you can just layer that up in the middle of those two. Okay, so there you've got your panels. So it's slightly different to my original one, but not too much. So now we're going to put, which will cover it up, we'll put the panel down the front here, which neatly fits in there. So we're going to stamp that, and that's using this Any Occasion stamp set, and it comes with a lovely thank you. And I'm just going to do it tone on tone stamping here. So I'm going to use my Pacific Point on the Pacific Point card. So thank you in the middle there. I've then got the string mounted up, so I can just come in, hopefully try not to get my head in the shot, and pop the string on the top there. And the string down here. And then you can use any of the little accents that come in here. I've used the flowers, but you could use any of those. And then you just pop in one of the small blocks. I've done a better job with that. Just pop in with a couple of those. This is where it becomes awkward on camera because usually I stand right over that. But trying to stand over and not get my head in shot, it's not always easy. So there we go. So there's our thank you. I could have probably lined that string up a little better, but you know what? It's all live. Okay. So having done our panel for the front, we're just going to come in with some fuse, and that is going to cover up my slight error on the front there by just layering like so. Okay, so there's our card. And then all that remains to do now is we're going to cut this into 3 pieces. So when you cut it, the piece for the sentiment actually is 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches, 2 by 4 centimetres. When you trim this, if you remember, this was 5 3/4 inches. So we're going to cut that down just into 3 panels, which you're going to cut at 1 3/8 on each one, which is at 3.5 centimetres. So 1 3/8, move it along and do the same again, 1 3/8. Bring our card in, and then get them in the right order, and you can pop those panels in place. Now, this is a lovely quality watercolour card, this one from Stampin' Up, so it really does take the colour very well. And as with all of these things, just my snails run out, so let's quickly substitute a bit of fuse and then pop that one on that last layer, like so. So there's the front of our card. So we look at the back, it's not as attractive on the back. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of card for the reverse, which is 5.5 by 3 3/4, and I've just gutted out that middle section as well. That just makes the most of your card, and those offcuts can always be used. I use one of these for the central panel, but you can also use it for you know, and any other sort of sentiments that you might be creating for other cards. So I've just, that's what's called gutting. And then the next piece is the one I'm going to stamp in Sahara Sand with the big Mediterranean Moments one. So all I'm going to do is take a couple of post-it notes so that we can get the image down the side. So just pop those like so, and then I'm just going to fold that under. I should trim it with my scissors instead. So I'm just making like a narrow channel for the image. I'm going to use Sahara Sand, but I don't want the full strength impression because that would be perhaps a little bit dominating. So I'm just going to stamp off and then come in on the side there and do the same for the other side. Because obviously where we've stamped it, we've actually stamped it again. So stamp off and then just come in for the right hand edge. So that just gives you a little bit of an effect. I mean, obviously you could actually stamp off even more and have it as a true kind of watercolour on the back as well, if you wanted to. But I just like sort of having that's a little, almost a frame around it. And you could extend it by doing a true frame with the bottom part of the image as well. So once you've done that, just layer our panel on. And there we have what I call a concertina fan fold using the Mediterranean Moments stamp set, and that was my original. So I don't know which you prefer, whether you prefer it on that flap so that it stands proud or not, I think, but maybe I do. But by having that extra panel, you can see here, it just makes the whole card a lot more stable, and that will fit into a standard card front. So thanks for watching. Come back and see me again soon for another Sunday scoring, which is hopefully about making fancy folds straightforward for you. Bye for now.